Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Healthy Dog Workshop and Healthy Dog Expo podcast. And I'm thinking that we are tech challenge free this morning. So far, we're a whole minute and 15 seconds in, and everything has worked. I already see a comment from one of my team members, Janet. Good morning, Janet. Let me know if everybody can see everybody and hear everything clearly, because I think we've conquered the beast. My guests today are Angela and Melissa of Four Legger. Hi, guys. Good morning. Thanks for taking the time.
We also have little JC here today.
We have help.
She's here.
Excellent. So it's so good to see you and for you to be able to see us, unlike last time. So let's dive right in. Tell me the story, and tell people who haven't heard the story of how you guys actually began this company.
Well, that all goes down to a little dog named Henry Clay, who was a little toy white poodle. And when he was 8 years old, he was diagnosed with cancer in his urinary tract, which was a little uncommon.
Yeah.
And interesting now, in retrospect, to think 2008 is kind of the year where the uptick in canine cancer really began to be noticed. And so he went through a couple of surgeries and was okay, but then it metastasized to his brainstem. And my work at the time was in occupational therapy, and I worked with neurological conditions in patients. And so I kind of knew what I was seeing with the aspirating and equilibrium issues and facial droop and all that. But he at the time was given probably about a 4 to 5 week diagnosis or prognosis for a quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
But he outlived that by 13 months. And I know that he did because that dog knew I had cancer before I knew I had cancer. And he actually ended up dying on the day I was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. And during the course of my treatment, after the very first chemo round, my cell counts went to the basement and were medically deemed infection fatal. So my oncologist says, well, I know you got other dogs at home. You can't leave home except to come here, because this was January. So cold and flu season, germs everywhere. If you catch anything, you're not going to make it. And I know you've got other dogs at home and they're out walking and bringing things in, and you need to start bathing them more to minimize your risk of exposure to germs. So, we're both college educated people. We thought we could pick a good shampoo and one that wasn't going to be, questionable. And the one we chose, after a week's worth of use of just increasing their bathing, all the dogs were itching and scratching and stuff that they had not done previously. And so it just kind of led to a rabbit hole. It's like, okay, I'm trying to clean up my act now and going more organic and more natural. But what am I doing to my dogs? Because now they're suffering. So Angela, which I'm so glad she was able to be here today, her background is in molecular genetics and biochemistry. So an excellent partner to be able to research ingredients and understand what the literature is saying and know what's a good ingredient, what's a bad ingredient, what's a totally green marketed ingredient. And so we spent my entire cancer treatment, which was 22 months long, but the first year of that we spent just researching ingredients. And so that's kind of was the inspiration behind Four Legger. And, I'm just so proud of this legacy that Henry Clay has established for helping dogs have a much healthier grooming routine and product choice and selection for their grooming products, and educating, pet parents about how to go about finding a good product and know whether you can trust the label or not, which most of the time you can't. And so that's kind of, was our beginnings. And the great part of the story ends with the month that we were ready to launch our first product, which was the lemongrass and aloe shampoo. It's our flagship product, I guess you'd call it. That was ready the month that I finished my last cancer treatment. And so it was just kind of a great way to close this chapter. Now we're going forward, and it's just been such a wonderful experience, a wonderful journey to connect with so many great people and veterinarians like yourself and so many others that have gotten the pleasure to meet and get to know. So
yeah. And isn't it amazing the way, our life takes us in certain places, and if you're just open to it, things just fall into place. And
right,
it's not that it's always easy,
right.
but everything led you. Obviously, this was where you were meant to be.
Yeah, and I never dreamt that, this is what I would be doing at this point in my life.
Yeah, yeah.
Occupational therapy was my second career choice, and I thought that's where I would retire
What
from.
was your first career choice?
I was in the airline industry.
Oh,
So
okay, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
it was for 10 years before that in corporate management. And so, yeah, it's been a really diverse career span for me.
Yeah.
But like you said, I know in my heart that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and couldn't be happier about it.
Yeah. And I'll say, as a scientist, it was an eye-opening experience and incredibly upsetting, to be honest, because
Yeah.
on the front of the bottle, it said all natural and organic, right? So that's what I'm washing Piper with. She's getting drier, flakier skin. She has dandruff for the first time in her life.
Mhm.
And when I turned the bottle over, it said all natural
Yeah.
ingredients derived from
Coconut.
coconut. And so I was like, well, what actually is that? That's not an ingredient. And why, as a scientist, did I not really pay attention to that? Why did I read the front of the bottle and go, oh, that's great, let's use
Mhm.
that?
Yeah.
And never really paid attention to the back of the bottle or to the ingredient panel, to be frank, which is insane, right? Because what's the first thing we do when we feed our dog something?
Yeah,
We
look at the
scour the ingredients.
Yeah. And we still get lied to on the front of the package.
Yeah, we still get lied to on the front of the package. And I think that
But
the big eye opener for us was, it's not just the food, it's every little thing,
Mhm.
right? You've got to pay attention to ingredients in everything. And, coconut-based dog shampoo or coconut-based plant-based ingredients is not an ingredient.
No. No.
That's a greenwashing of an actual ingredient. And you need to find out what that actual ingredient really is.
I love that term that you just used, greenwashing.
Yeah.
Because that is spot on of so many products we use for ourselves. The whole term organic when it comes to human food, an organic orange.
Right.
Well, guess what?
Right.
It's not.
Well, and as much as, the food industry, everybody knows what under the gun it is right now for the pet food industry with the safety issue going on.
Yeah.
There is at least a little bit of regulation, albeit not great. But when you move over to the grooming side of the pet space, there's no regulation. Anybody can literally put whatever they want to in a bottle and call it whatever they want. And nobody's going to say, you can't do that. You can't use that ingredient. You can't. And it's just unconscionable when you really look at it, what you can find in a bottle of dog shampoo that you're putting on a living, breathing being.
Yeah. No regulation saying you have to disclose all of the ingredients.
Really?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can just put the ones that sound good and leave the objectionable ones off altogether. And
That's
so that's why it's so important to have, a third party validator, which for us is the National Organic Program. We chose that route early on because we knew that without the regulation in place, there was no way that we were going to be able to distinguish ourselves from anybody else.
Yeah.
And so we just early on, we knew we're going to follow the standards of the National Organic Program. We're going to get every single label certified. We're going to renew it every single year. We're going to abide by all of the conditions that are required to achieve certification and then maintain certification, so that if people will just look at the label and see the statement of organic certification on a product, they'll know, okay, this is verified by what is the gold standard in the organic community,
Yeah.
the USDA National Organics Program, and so that immediately tells you there's no ingredient in this product that has been exposed to pesticides, that has been exposed to herbicides, insecticides. Any of that stuff is not allowed within a 3-mile radius of a
Yeah.
crop.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not been adulterated, which I think is the biggest thing.
The
I mean,
GMOs. Yeah.
yeah, I
Well,
mean,
I think people forget when it comes to topical stuff we use on our dogs. The dog ingests it because they lick it.
right.
They wear it all the time. I mean, we take a shower. Dogs are bathed, depending. Sometimes once a year, whether they need it or not. Sometimes every week.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And the variation, it's crazy.
If you think about it, it's the one thing, bathing a dog, that you're deliberately picking a product with the intention of putting it on your dog.
Right.
And if you don't know what's in that bottle, then you have no way of knowing
Hmm.
what you're doing to your dog. And
Yeah.
we all know that inflammation is the source of all disease, and it starts in the gut. And it starts with food generally, but
Mhm.
where it plays out most of the time is on the skin,
Yes.
because it shows up as inflammation, it shows up as itchiness and dandruff and all of the stuff on
And
the skin. And if you have that battle emerging from an internal source, and now externally you're putting something on your dog that's just going to exacerbate it, then you've created the perfect storm on your
yeah.
dog's skin to continue to be an itchy, miserable mess.
And that is skin stuff is the number one reason for bringing a dog to the vet.
Right.
Yep.
Number one reason. And it kills me at the conventional practice where I do my integrative stuff. When it comes to shampoo products, they're all heavily medicated, heavily perfumed, and these are the quote unquote prescription shampoos and skin treatments. And
Right.
it's like, how about something just clean,
Right.
just simple, just
That you can pronounce.
quality that, you can, I can't prescribe them. I send them to you.
Right.
And thanks, Janet, for dropping in the website for Four-Legger.
Yes.
Um,
And just since I mentioned the food safety issue that's going on,
Yeah.
I would like to add, people think, well, what does that got to do with my grooming products? It's got everything to do with your grooming products, because we're kind of at a juncture where more people, just average basic pet owners, are more willing to look at a raw and natural and species
Oh.
appropriate diet than ever before. And
Yes.
if you're going to spend all of that money to go and get a healthier level of food for your dog, why are you going to mess it up and make that less effective than it could be by making a poor choice in your grooming products that, maybe will save you $1 or $2? Nobody's
Yeah.
going to go broke buying Four-Legger. I mean, we've
No.
established that as one of our core features. We're
To
not
keep
going
it
to be
affordable.
Yeah, we're going to keep it affordable, so people aren't going to have to choose a
Um,
bottle of junk over
Yeah.
actual organic shampoo.
And I think too, people don't always know how to use the right amount of shampoo,
Yeah.
and they'll just free pour down the whole dog's back. You don't need to do that, guys. You
No,
don't.
not with organic shampoo. You don't, because it's concentrated naturally
Yeah.
by virtue of not having any artificial fillers or synthetic fillers or anything like that in it. And all organic shampoo needs is a lot of water.
Yeah.
That's the activator for sudsing, for everything. If you're not getting a good lather with our shampoo,
Mhm.
you're using way too much shampoo and not nearly enough water. And it's
Yeah.
as simple as that.
Yeah. And around here, we've had an explosion in the number of do-it-yourself dog washing stations.
Mhm.
So they're in pet stores, they're at the Tractor Supply,
Yeah.
and those things make it really easy for you to use a lot of water,
Right.
to have the hose and not kill your back and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
So how can people learn more about what's in their shampoo? What does, I can't even think of an ingredient. What does a certain ingredient really, what is it really? If we say it's alpha, whatever, polygluconate. Uh,
Good.
yeah.
Well, that was kind of our project during COVID and the aftermath of COVID, was taking the 17 months worth of ingredient deep dive research that we had done and putting that in a format and making it available as a standalone website. It's the pet shampoo ingredient database.com. And it is the easiest resource available for anybody that's trying to research an ingredient in a pet shampoo, and probably a human shampoo too. We've made it simplified so you don't have to, be a collegian to understand the research and be able to interpret the research. To know what we're going to give you is, if you search on the database for an ingredient, you're going to get 3 criteria back, which is it a natural ingredient or a synthetic ingredient? If it's safe,
I can't.
and
I'm trying to make it bigger, but I'm going to hide my.
there you go.
There you go. Yeah, if you scroll down, I think it has the legend on there so people can figure out.
Yeah, it'll tell you if it's a natural ingredient or a synthetic ingredient, if it's a safe ingredient, and if it's an ingredient that even could be certified organic. And then the extra little special sauce that is included is, if that ingredient comes back in the safety range is not safe for any reason, we're going to tell you over there on the right, that text is what health conditions in both canines and humans have ever been associated with that ingredient. So you can literally, just see for yourself in a matter of seconds, is this an ingredient that I want on my dog, on me, in my house, anything like that. So, and you can see the drop down in the green line at the top. You choose your ingredient by the name that it starts with to flip between and look. So, like, for instance, look on C. If you look on C and look up cocamidopropyl, I can't even say it, cocamidopropyl betaine, which is the iconic plant-derived, coconut-derived descriptor that you see in an ingredient list. And you can see that, yeah, that started out maybe as a coconut, but it's been through so many chemical reactions that they've actually turned it into a synthetic ingredient. And it is associated with itching and skin conditions. So, you lose every bit of the coconut benefit that you might have had when it was a natural ingredient off the tree. And by it now being a synthetic, you're putting something on your dog that may be exacerbating the problem that you're trying to get rid of.
Yeah, and I added the column, can it even be organic? Because, that goes back to looking at that very first bottle of shampoo that we had was, when it said organic and all natural, and it really wasn't organic. There was nothing that made it organic. So we added, can it be organic, into the database so you can see if an ingredient really is organic or is it not.
Everybody says their stuff's organic, and they can, because nobody's regulating that to say, well, you can't say that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. Sorry about, if I'm not on camera, you can't hear anything I say. So
that's okay.
Bear with me, but I'm so glad I have screen sharing capability now, because this database is life-changing when you start diving into the products that are in your home now. And you can look up ingredients on your own shampoo as well.
Right. And there's a link at the top of it where if you're looking up an ingredient and it's not in the database, you can request a review for it, and
Right here.
it's just a little form you submit with the name of the ingredient and your email address. And Angela here, the scientist, will do the research on that ingredient and add it to the database.
That's awesome.
So it's
So
dynamic.
this is
It's always growing.
it's always growing because we know there's always more chemicals to use out here in the world.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand too that, not every ingredient is bad, right? So you might have a good ingredient, a not so great ingredient, but you also might have an ingredient that isn't bad, but it's an ingredient that helps other ingredients get through the skin. So
Mhm.
that ingredient, when you're washing your dog, you're using warm water, which automatically opens up the pores of the skin. Then
Right.
if you have another ingredient that helps transport things through that skin barrier, if you have like a DMDM hydantin, which is a slow releasing formaldehyde in that shampoo, it's now more readily being able to pass through that skin barrier and into the body, where it can cause, more long-term issues. And no,
Yeah.
you're not going to see a dramatic difference in your dog's skin usually from one bath to the next, right? When your dog gets up to 8, 7, 8, 9 years old, you're going to have that
Mhm.
accumulation of all those toxins in their
Right.
body that is
Right.
going to impact their health. You're going to start seeing those skin issues. You're going to start seeing those long-term health issues. And, I think that, Melissa said it once, like, all of a sudden my dog has all these problems.
Yeah.
All of a sudden my dog
Yeah.
has skin issues. All of a sudden my dog is sick.
There's no all of a sudden.
Yeah.
There is no. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I wanted to show Janet's comment here. Janet is one of my team members,
Hi, Janet.
and I think she talked with you at the last expo about
Oh, yeah.
using products on people or development of products for people.
Oh, yeah. We have as many two-leggers in the four-legger pack as there's always somebody that's dipping into their four-legger stash.
Yeah, yeah.
Of
Yeah.
product.
And why not? And also, I was looking at this screen. I mean, there's marshmallow root. Oh my God, big thumbs up.
Mhm.
Yep.
So the
Mhm.
ingredient database is not all what's bad.
Right. It's the good and the bad, so that you can
Exactly.
distinguish. You don't have to guess, well,
Yeah.
this one's not listed as bad, so does that make it good? We're gonna tell you, it's good or, whether it's good or bad. And our ingredients are in there too. I mean, we're not hiding anything that we do. Every single ingredient that we use is in there as well. So,
Yeah.
it's a great resource, and it's not part of the four-legger website because I didn't want the conflict of interest argument that would come up from people. You're just trying to peddle your own
Yeah.
stuff, and like, well, yeah, I am because I know it's better, but I'm not going to make it.
But no, this is a independent project.
It's a standalone website. You can't buy a product on that website. All you can do is research.
Well, and you're essentially crowdsourcing the information that's on there as people request things that are not yet listed, or
Right.
as new components, new ingredients come on the scene.
Right. And all of the ingredient research that we have ever done it's not from Dr. Google. Okay. It's from the academic literature, from PubMed, from the veterinary science and the medical science research literature. It's peer reviewed. It's
EWG.
Yes,
Yeah.
EWG. It's verifiable, research documented information that is now available to anybody that wants to use it. We're not ever going to charge for it, and it's just every pet parent should have the right to know what they're putting on their dog
Right.
without having to, go to college to figure it out.
Well, and I think of when I was doing a lot more dog showing, my dogs might be bathed each week.
Mhm.
And Janet was mentioning that her neighbor's cows got loose, and the dogs, of course, went out and found the cow piles.
I heard that story before.
Yeah, yeah. And around here, it's goose poop,
Yeah.
but they find some really smelly stuff.
Yep.
And if a dog is bathed every week or every 2 weeks, and if you're using like leave-in conditioners and stuff, and believe me, the show dog people, as you cross different breeds, there's more products in a poodle handler's tack box than there is at a salon, because the hair's got to be poofy, the hair's got to be the right texture, and the amount of chemicals that go on these dogs is incredible.
I don't
Yeah.
think there's any more toxic place for a dog than a dog show. And I say that, cautiously, because people don't know. I mean, you don't know what you don't know.
Well,
But
and they're spraying things all around, and then they're chalking, and
right.
you know.
And there's two ways you can look at shampoo. You're either more interested in the look that you're going to get and the perception of the feel of the texture of the coat that you're interested in, or, and this is what we're trying to bring to light more, you're more interested in the long-term health of your dog. And the two do not,
the health of the skin and the skin microbiome and everything.
right.
And Janet is insightful this morning, because
She always is.
She always is. What about groomers? What is it? The HydroSurge system that so many use, where they have a machine and it sucks the shampoo up and mixes it with the water, and then they can spray it directly on.
We've got a lot of groomers in our pack, and we're thankful for that, because that's a hard bit of the industry to crack into, because a lot of groomers, they all have the best intentions, and they're the front line of people handling dogs. And usually the first one to say to an owner, your dog has really dry skin, or your dog has this. And so we're so grateful for the ones that are actively seeking out organic shampoo, because they know this is not only safer for the 10 dogs I'm going to wash today, it's safer for me, because each one of those dogs is only going to get one bath, but my hands are in effect going to get 10. And we've got so many groomers that have come back and said, I can't believe what a difference in my skin that using this shampoo does. And, it works. We haven't heard of a bathing system of any of the groomers that use four-legger that there's been an issue with it. If anything, they'd say they use less shampoo again, which goes back to it being concentrated. And it's, it's great. The problem that some groomers will have with it is they're not wholeheartedly into the organic space. So they still have their supply of synthetic based detergent shampoo there. And so synthetic detergent shampoo and organic shampoo don't play well together. So if you have both of those kind of trying to go through the same system, you might notice some white film and that's not our shampoo causing that. That's our shampoo revealing the level of synthetics that are in these other products, because they're not mixing with the organic shampoo ingredients, and they're actually binding to the oils in the shampoo that we use and revealing, okay, this is synthetic residue, and I didn't even know it was there.
And I'd go back to what you're trained on, right? So, I mean, a lot of the grooming schools have some of these bigger dog companies that are, and I mean, it's kind of like when you look at
the pet food industry
hills and you look at the, that's exactly what it's like. So you have a lot of the grooming industry that has some of these big grooming companies that, kind of, I hate to say the word brainwash, but they get you thinking that this is what the dog is supposed to eat. This is what the dog is supposed to look like. And, the dog with the big poofy hair and all that is not the natural look of a dog, right? The natural look of the dog is this. I mean, it's healthy skin. It's, soft. I mean, her hair is so incredibly soft. And it's not going to poof out and be all bouffante, because that's just not what organic dog shampoo does. But, when as a groomer, that's kind of what you're ingrained to look for and what you're ingrained to think of.
And what your client wants.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, we need to have this shift in our brains on, food, on, what healthy food is, what healthy shampoo is, what healthy, spritzes is to put on your dog.
Sure.
All of that needs to be a mind shift.
Well, and I think the food thing is going to start it,
yes,
because I think
yeah.
the current situation is going to explode.
And
It's inevitable.
I'll say too, just because Angela's comment put it into my head. We talk mostly about shampoo, when we have these sessions, and we talk about four-legger, but we're a full grooming product line. I mean,
Yeah.
we have the shampoos. We have a general use kind of a shampoo that's got four shampoo products in that. Then we've got an advanced formulation line if you have a dog with more severe, more chronic skin or coat conditions. Then we have the spray line, which is, we call them deodorizing sprays, but it's better than that, because they're actually consisting of just purified water, a little carrier oil, and organic essential oil, which is to help supplement the exposure to essential oil benefits in between baths, because nobody's bathing their dog every day.
Right.
Right. So you need something to keep them surrounded in the benefits of natural ingredients. For us, it's essential oils. And so we have 5 different sprays for that. We have our apple cider vinegar rinse, which is,
Yeah, someone was raving about that in one of the comments.
it's a workhorse. I mean, we made it for one purpose, and it has turned out to be good for multiple purposes for dogs. And you can use it as a traditional kind of a rinse after a bath if you want, your dog to be a little sleeker, and less froofy if you have kind of a wiry haired coat or something that would come out looking very crazy. But it's also good to use as a spritz in between baths if you have a dog with a chronic yeast condition or some other fungal or bacterial issue. You can use it as a spot treatment every day on those areas. It's going to help condition the skin and help to rebalance it with sebum and the sebum production, and just keeping the skin clear of the bacteria and germs that you don't want there. And then we have a nose and paw balm, which is also certified organic. All of our products are certified organic. The only one that's not is the dental powder. And it's still formulated according to the standards of the organics program, but sea salt cannot be organic, and that's the primary ingredient.
Wow, that sounds counterintuitive.
Right.
It really does.
It's on the approved list of ingredients that can be used in organic products, but it cannot itself be certified organic, because salt can be harvested from anywhere.
Yeah.
You don't know what it's been exposed to. But it's such a super simple. I mean, dental products for some reason are making such a push here. And it is Canine Dental Awareness Month, so we'll plug it just a little bit. Our product is it's not a water additive, it's not a paste, it's not got any artificial bacon flavor or beef flavor or anything like that. It is 3 ingredients. It is sea salt, baking soda, and peppermint essential oil. And it harkens back to the time when their dentist would tell them, just use baking soda, for your toothpaste, right? And so when you apply that to canine physiology, we all know that dogs have their own set of enzymes in their saliva to help combat germs and bacteria in their own mouth, right? So the sea salt helps to stimulate the salivary glands to release those enzymes so the dog's mouth can do its own work.
Yeah.
The essential oil is there to be an anti-inflammatory. It's very cooling if a dog has red or inflamed, gums that are sore. And the baking soda is there to help protect the enamel. And you use such a everybody's like, well, dogs don't need that much sodium. You're right. They don't. And we agree with that. But you're not trying to season a steak here. You just put a tiny little bit of powder, and as soon as you start rubbing that on your dog's teeth, when you see the saliva increase, you're done with the dental powder. Now all you have to do is agitate and rub along the gum line, and the product and the dog's natural enzymes will do the rest of the work. They're not going to ingest enough of it that's going to cause any kind of stomach distress or anything. Obviously, we say if your dog has some medical condition that requires a limit on sodium intake, then yes, by all means, get your vet's approval to use that. But also make sure they understand that you're not dumping out a tablespoon of salt.
Yeah.
If you're using it correctly or not.
Yeah. And you're going to try to rinse and remove it as much as possible.
Right. I mean,
inevitably they'll swallow something.
And it'll be diluted by the amount of saliva that has been generated and stimulated by that in the first place. So it's such a small amount. I don't think we've ever had anybody come back and say, my dog got a really upset stomach, after using this, but we try to be, very specific about it on the website to make sure people understand how you're supposed to use this. You don't run a big glob of toothpaste like you do on your toothbrush.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I don't personally recommend using a toothbrush on a dog.
What do you like?
My finger with a piece of medical gauze over it, just to allow a little bit of gentle stimulation and agitation. And the reason that I don't like a toothbrush, and this goes back to my occupational therapy days, when you're using what is essentially an extension of your finger, you don't get good biofeedback of how much pressure you're applying in that dog's mouth. And that's some of the most tender tissue of skin that there is. And so if your dog's pulling back, it might be because they don't like the taste of it, but it's probably because you're applying too much pressure. Yeah. And you can't tell because it's not your finger that's directly in contact with the gums and the teeth. So I much prefer just using your own finger, putting just a little square of medical gauze over it that's damp, and that makes it easy to pick up, just a small amount of the dental powder and then just go to work.
Yeah. And there are a variety of finger slip-on things too that companies have devised, but the important thing is that you have good sensation through them.
Right. You need to be able to feel
thick thing. It might not be the best option.
Right.
My other caution would be go easy when your puppy's teething. You're going to try to teach your puppy to have their mouth handled, but respect the fact that their gums might hurt.
Right. Yeah. Right.
And, maybe you don't do anything some days because you can't.
And the other thing is if you have successfully trained your dog to have their teeth brushed, but you've been using a product that tastes like bacon,
yeah,
then, peppermint's probably not going to be your dog's first choice in making a switch. So you're going to have to reinforce with healthy treats to get them to go along with that change. So,
this is a really foreign thing to train a dog to do.
Yeah, it's
so make it rewarding.
A kid that grew up eating, Captain Crunch, and then you try to suddenly give them all brand. There's going to be some persuasion needed there.
There's going to be some negative feedback at first,
but just stick with it, because in the end, you're eliminating another source of artificial and synthetic ingredients that your dog is very clearly ingesting. And so who knows where it's going after that. You can't go wrong when you just stick with natural ingredients. And that's what Four-Legger's all about. It's just natural ingredients. It shouldn't be rocket science for anybody. The industry tries to make it rocket science to keep people confused and not knowing what to choose. But if you just commit to sticking with ingredients that you can pronounce and that you've ever heard of, and that you could repeat in conversation to somebody, then you're already way ahead of the game.
And certainly with having the ingredient database, if you're not sure,
look it up
over there.
Yeah, look it up. Bookmark it. It's good in a mobile format. It's good in laptop. It's good in whatever device you're looking at. Just keep it handy. Keep it on your phone when you're out shopping, and just look and see. If if you're looking at ingredients and other things, don't assume that you can overlook the ingredients in your dog's grooming products, because that is a bad choice to make.
Absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right in saying this is as important as food.
Yeah,
Um,
and what's the number one cancer in dogs? Skin cancer.
yeah, pretty much.
So,
Um, you know,
yeah,
it may be a little bit breed dependent, but mast cell tumors,
yeah,
you know, all over the place. And yeah, and what is the impact of throwing off the skin microbiome, having your dog ingesting this stuff by licking their
yeah,
paws and their body?
Yeah,
It's
you just don't know. I mean,
yeah.
Bailey, who has not made an appearance,
Mhm,
she's a rescue dog, and she was about a year old when I got her, and because of the way shelter laws are, that dog, I'm certain, had received 2 full sets of puppy vaccines before she
mhm.
was a year old.
Oh, yeah.
And she's absolutely broken now. I mean, she is walking inflammation in her whole body.
Well, and spayed and neutered probably sooner than she should have
yes,
been.
And
Um,
she is constantly going through her own self-induced detox periods where stuff builds up in her system, and she starts smelling like a locker room for a
yeah.
couple of days while she's detoxing this stuff. So it is such a challenge when you have a dog, and so many dogs now is like you said at the very beginning, most dogs are going to the vet now because of skin
Mhm.
problems.
Skin and ears,
Yeah,
yeah,
and which to me, it's all skin.
right. Well, it is. Yeah.
And the dogs smell, and after I examine them, I have residue on my hands.
yeah,
Um, they're warm to the touch. It's just they're a mess,
Yep.
yeah,
and it doesn't have to be that way.
It doesn't. And you just have to be, I mean, my kind of personal platform for the last several years is if you're going to have a dog, there's 3 things you have to get right. If you want to have any chance of having a long-term healthy dog, you got
Mhm,
to get the food right, you've got to get their vaccination protocols right, and any other, topical medicines or
mhm.
whatever that you might be using, and you've got to get their grooming products right.
Yeah.
And if you skip any of those, you're missing the mark on how healthy of a dog that you could potentially have.
Mhm. Without a doubt, and it's those are such fundamental things, it shouldn't be that hard.
Right,
It's the marketing departments of the companies that are making products that we wouldn't necessarily choose,
right. Yeah.
that convince people.
And incidentally, the shampoo that we chose way back in, Henry Clay, when this was all starting, that made us go down this hole, was the still at that time and still today number one best selling shampoo in the market. And
Oh, wow.
it's a detergent synthetic based shampoo. But what you see on the label is coconut derived. If you see that, you know immediately it's a synthetic detergent.
Can you explain the difference between a detergent, a soap, and a shampoo?
Yes, there's only 2 different types of cleansers,
Okay.
period. There's either a soap based cleanser or a detergent based cleanser. Detergents are made from synthetics. Okay. So soap is the oldest cleansing um, product that there's ever been. I mean, that people have been making soap for hundreds and hundreds of years.
Mhm,
Detergents came along when the wars started. Basically,
okay.
World War II was
Mhm,
when pet food went down the tubes and when grooming products went down the tube, because manufacturers discovered that all these new synthetics that were suddenly available were a lot less expensive. They could make a better, have a better profit margin if they just use synthetics. And because nobody was making them tell what was
mhm,
in it, and there was such limited research at the time about any kind of long-term health benefits, that nobody knew. They just, oh, well, this is
wow.
cheaper. I'll go buy a
Yeah.
bottle of Hart's shampoo for $4.99, and that'll be a good choice. no,
No, not so much.
not so much. But I mean, that's just kind of the bottom line. And then soap is shampoo is an extension of a soap-based product
Okay.
for us. So
More of a liquid formula,
yes,
although.
and it's just in the process of how you saponify the organic oils is what we do. We use potassium hydroxide as the natural alkali. It's a
Mhm.
naturally occurring ingredient in nature. And the problem that people run into when making organic shampoo is they under saponify, which means they don't use up all of the potassium hydroxide in the product, for one, which you don't want to leave in there. And it makes an oilier shampoo. So it is hard to suds up. That's why organic shampoo originally got the stigma that, yeah, it might be better, but it doesn't suds up. Well, it's not been a properly saponified shampoo if that's the case, or soap product if that's the case.
Mhm.
And we test every single batch. We do everything in small batches, and we test every single batch of shampoo that we have running at the end of the saponification process to make sure that all of the potassium hydroxide has been used up. There is
Yep.
no testable amount available in the product, which is why it doesn't appear on the ingredient list. It's not there.
Mhm.
And you have a super sudsy shampoo as a result that, because of the oils that we use, coconut oil, jojoba oil, and olive oil, is though the benefits of those particular oils are to make a particular creamy feeling shampoo, one that will suds up a lot, and one that will condition a lot. And so the base product of all of our shampoos, the base soap that is in all of our shampoos, all have those benefits. So in some way or another, they are all going to address itchy skin, because
Yeah.
that's what everybody says. Oh, my dog's got itchy skin.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't make any difference which one you choose. It's going to be addressed just because of the soap base that we use.
Mhm.
But the other ingredients that we then add into each formulation, whether it's calendula or St. John's wort or whatever
Mhm.
is going into it, are what differentiate the formulations between each other to be more targeted for what specific issue you may be dealing with your dog.
Yeah. Yeah. And I always think of the old commercials. I guess it was for Ivory soap. They said the soap that floats.
Yeah.
But if you got a soap like that and compared it to one of the more, human, just whatever brand, there's a different feel on your skin.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And when you go into like the Dr. Bronner's, or we have a couple of small local soap companies that sell at our co-op, it's a whole different ball game
Yeah.
Mhm.
than the grocery store soap.
I can tell when I can tell it the most is if I'm traveling. This is why I
Mhm.
always travel with four-legger, because this is what I use on myself. It's
Yeah.
in my shower, it's what I use on my hair, it's my shampoo product. It's what I use for hand soap. Um, if I fail to go to the shower without four-legger and I have to use the stuff that they've put in there,
Oh,
the
geez.
top
Yeah.
line, I come out feeling like I have a quarter of an inch of some kind of film
Mhm.
all over
Yep.
my skin. It's just the most awful feeling in the world once you get used to the cleanness of organic shampoo and how it's not going to leave any of that residue built
Yeah.
up on
Yeah.
your skin or your dog's skin.
Yeah.
And it's just it feels so much better. And you notice it when you're forced to use
You're forced to use lesser
a
products.
detergent-based
Yeah.
shampoo.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the take home message is, the difference between using a detergent and a true soap-based product.
Yeah.
It's a whole
Detergent
different world.
Detergents are synthetics and organic shampoo is 100% natural.
Well, I can't wait to see you guys in April, and catch up more. This has
Absolutely.
just been very eye-opening, I think, for everyone. So everybody out there, get your tickets at healthydogexpo.com. There's still, yes, and you.
Let me do one more plug if we have just a
Sure,
second.
sure.
our website, the Four Layer website, Janet dropped the link in there for that. We have a fantastic research resource there, not research, but article resource there. We write articles. When I say we, I mean
Yeah,
the scientists
the
here.
scientist.
And we publish them. We email them out to our mailing list, but we also just publish them on our blog. And if anybody wants to go and try to see if anything's ever been written about whatever topic that they're interested in regarding their dog, you can just there's a search
Pop in there.
But one thing I would really encourage people to do, if you search for lessons, that's all you have to put, lessons. You'll get a list. There was a six article series that we did on lessons to understand what the individual components of shampoo are. So the preservatives, the cleansing agent, the sudsing agents, the this, the that. So we broke it down into 6 individual lessons so that you could get a really basic understanding of what goes into making a dog shampoo product and what is the good, the bad, and the ugly about it. So that
That's an awesome thing to have.
Yep.
Because I love mixing the science with the practical.
Yeah.
So good. And Janet's dropped the blog link there. Perfect.
Awesome.
So excellent. So we will see everybody in April. I'll be back next week with a couple more guests. Posts will be going out soon. And don't forget to visit healthydogexpo.com. Take advantage of the VIP program. We've got some amazing stuff coming up this year and amazing people coming back to be in the exhibitor area. So everybody have a great weekend and we'll see you soon.
All right. Thanks for having us.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.